Hey everybody, how you doing? I gotta tell you, this right here, let me get it out of the way so you can see what I'm talking about. This Rowena Brown for City Council. When I first got an email about this, I thought, you gotta be kidding me, man. She's got it. She's gonna get the votes needed to really break the at-large race, and that's exactly what happened. And I meant to vlog about it, but I was tied up with other matters, and decided I'd keep an eye on the situation, because look, I've been in Oakland since April 8th of 1974, and I cannot recall, I have to ask Allan about this, I cannot recall a time where he used, okay, the marquee of the Grand Lake Theater to present a candidate for consideration. I can't think of any time that has ever happened. All right, I can't. And so this was a milestone to have this candidate up there seen thousands of times a day. I mean, this is not a small deal. This is not a small deal because, by some estimates, the Grand Lake as a facade and the movies that are listed are seen between 18,000 and 30,000 times a day, depending on circumstances. Now, when I say that, that's considering traffic, pedestrian traffic. Also, you can't forget people passing by on the freeway, getting off the freeway, those movements. The number of people that sees, I think that was a week, not a day, but a week. Regardless, it's a fair bet that the majority of the voting population in Oakland saw Rowena's name. It's like putting Rowena's name on a skyscraper someplace. Actually, even better because it's lower. You're always looking to see what what movies are playing. The Grand Lake Theater dominates the intersection of Grand and Lake Park. It is the gateway to the Grand Avenue Business District. So you can't miss Rowena's name. Or you couldn't have missed it. I don't know if it's still up there or not. I don't think it is. But you couldn't have missed Rowena's name. Okay, at all. Rowena Brown for City Council. And yet you're saying, okay, Zenny, fine, but tell us, how did this happen? And it happened, well, for me, I said how I found out about it, but then I actually called. First thing I did is I called Rowena Brown, and Marina, in her very nice way, said, "Well, Allen Michaan's a personal friend of mine," and I said, "Oh wow, okay." I said, "Yeah, I've known Allen since 1993. He's a great guy." And I said, "Congratulations on that placement. I think it's an incredible achievement, to get that right." And we talked about a few other things, and that was about it. And so then Allen contacted me on Thursday and before that, he wanted me to make a video vlog of that announced that Luther, Never Too Much, the movie, is going to be first to the Grand Lake and now held over until February 19th. So did I say February 19th? I meant November 19th. Held over until November 19th. Luther, Never Too Much, about Luther Vandross, the late great crooner. And unfortunately, because of other circumstances, I didn't do the initial video, and I thought I gotta do this. And it wasn't for pay. Alan's a friend of mine, and we have a great relationship. He's been my client in the past, but in this case, it's an on-call arrangement. He just calls and says, "Hey, Zinni, can you talk about this? Or, hey, Zinni, can you talk about that?" And my videos are monetized anyway, so Google's going to cut a check one way or the other, so to speak. Anyway, I was really upset with myself that I didn't get that vlog out, and I said, "Let me get this out." So I did. That was Friday. And I thought, let me call Allan because I haven't actually talked to Allan in a little bit. So I called and caught him. He was having dinner, getting ready to go to the Grand Lake. He had a favorite place that he and I both love to go to when I'm available. I haven't been there quite some time. It's a really great place. I don't want to give it away because that's changing the subject. At any rate, I happened to say to him, "Well, okay, can you? How did Rowena Brown's name get up there? How did that happen?" And he said, uh, very simply, that what happened was one day he got a call from California Attorney General Rob Bonta. Yeah, you heard me, California Attorney General Rob Bonta, who's a friend of mine, a friend of Allen's. And he said, "Can you put Rowena Brown's name on the marquee?" And Allen was only too happy, he told me, to do it because when Rob was assemblyman, he helped Allen and the antique furniture industry in arguably the East Bay with a piece of legislation that he helped craft, Rob did, and then marched through to approval by the California legislature and signed into law by the governor. And Allen feels like he's indebted to him literally for life for what he did. And that's how that came about. It's a phone call that was that simple. And but it also speaks to the influence of Rob Bonta on this election and how we have a concrete example, another concrete example of how Rob gets progressives to be promoted. Rowena is a progressive. Um, However one defines that, I'm not here to get in that little skirmish but I think it's notable. In fact, I was about making a post, and I'm almost done with it. It looks at the election and what happened, but from the lens of the races. If you think about the district, let's take this District 1. Zach Unger is considered to be a progressive. He won. He's winning. He's far ahead of Lynn. Unfortunately, that's for Lynn, who's my friend. That's a fact. So District 1, progressive. All right. District 3, Carol Fife is on her way to re-election. It would seem. I know we have a lot of votes to count. So let's see what happens. But the magnitude of these leads are such that, and I don't have the raw numbers to compare, but the magnitude of leads is such that it's hard for me to imagine that they would be broken. Maybe diminished a little bit, but we'll have to see. Because we do have the case of Nikki Fortunato Bass versus John Botters, and she's ahead of him, but only by by 100 votes plus. It is a narrow margin. It was like 106 votes. That is a narrow margin. So one would think if it's turning that way, it should continue, right? We'll have to see. We'll have to see. But getting back to Oakland, because that's a county race, even though it involves an Oaklander. Well, then we have District 5. And I interviewed Aaron Armstrong going up against Noel Gallo. And she's pulling in half of his votes. It's only basically, 3 candidates. Dominic Prado's not offering enough votes to transfer that would make a difference. The only hope that Aaron would have is if suddenly there was a whole big chunk of votes that were second choice that went only to her, and gave her this balloon. But if that's the case, then Noel would get first choice and still be back to the same calculus of Noel being ahead, right? So Noel's the winner. And I don't see Noel as progressive in the way that these other folks does not define progressive. I do see him as progressive in the way that he defines it, which is, the common checklist. Do you agree with the idea of a woman's right to choose? Yes. Do you agree that voting rights should be maintained? Yes. And those are the two primary issues. Those are the two primary. Oh, of course. Do you agree with the maintenance of LGBTQ rights? Yes. If you take a look at the United States from that perspective, you will surprisingly find about half this country is progressive. All right. There's more I can say on that right now, but I just don't. My point is that from that view, Noel is progressive, and he's the incumbent. So he's going to sail in to be put in there. Now we have District 7 put back in. Now we have District 7, and right now Ken Houston's ahead, and he's got a comfortable lead that speaks to, even though he came in late, and so did Iris Morans, but Ken came in a little later, but Ken is enormously well known around the city, particularly in District 7, and it shows in the outcome. It shows in the outcome. But again, we have more votes to count, right? We have more votes to count. So my point is that if you take a look at what was supposed to be this overall attack on the progressives, it really was toward the two candidates that were really the most problematic in how they did their jobs. Of course, Pamela Price, Alameda County District Attorney, and our Oakland Mayor, Shang Tao, who is now the first mayor in Oakland's history to ever have been recalled. So it's been a rough year, a rough election. We've got a lot of repairing to do. Okay. But so anyway, getting back to the whole Marquee thing, you say, Zinni, why are you convinced it worked? Well, aside from the location of the Grand Lake Theater, smack in the arguably one of the most popular, if not the most popular part of Oakland. It's what happened to Rowena, her numbers. Rowena gained the most first place votes and received the largest transfer of anyone when she received 49% of candidate Charlene Wang's second choice votes. Okay? As a result, Rowena is way ahead of former Oakland Police Chief LaRonne Armstrong, 70,272 votes to 53,392 votes after ranked choice voting. Okay? And so I believe that all of this happened because of that her name on the marquee. And there are other factors, ground game, focus on business, getting her signs up in the windows, that sort of thing. She really worked hard. But I believe that name on the Grand Lake Marquee was the real turning point. I really do. So I'll be back with more on the election. Subscribe to Zinni62 on YouTube and bookmark OaklandNewsOnline.com. That ends the stream.